Elon Musk poses as a customer in his store and uncovers shocking millionaire secreta. Claire's heart hammered against her ribs the moment the door chimed. The little tech shop on Market Street buzzed like any other busy afternoon in San Francisco. But something was off. A man walked in wearing sunglasses, oddly big, like they wanted to hide everything. Dressed down in a crumpled gray hoodie, a simple black cap pulled low, and sneakers that looked too well loved. He moved slow but sharp, scanning the shelves with quiet focus, eyes flicking like he was searching for more than the latest gadget. Claire stayed behind the counter, pretending to tidy some cords but stealing glances. There was something about him, a kind of weight. The usual customers only brought curiosity or impatience. This guy felt different. She bit her lip when he asked for the new VR headset, and when she handed it over, his hands were steady, almost too calm. "Quiet day at the store, huh?" he said softly. "V." She nodded, suddenly nervous. People didn't usually make small talk around here. I like that. No noise. Just space to think. He looked at her, really looked, and the warmth in his eyes sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. Minutes passed like seconds. Then, just as casually as any stranger might drop a bombshell, he pulled off his glasses. Claire barely breathed. It was him, Elon Musk. Not on a magazine cover, not in some loud interview, but right here, in her store, subdued, real, human. And behind the curious blue gaze, a storm raged. "I'm not here for the gadgets," he said, voice dropping low. "I'm hunting for something real, something raw. People always see the surface, but none of that shows the shadows underneath." Claire's throat tightened. How many times had she dreamed of something bigger, of working with the tech giants? Yet here was a man stripped of all spectacle, wrestling with his own demons. Their conversation peeled back layers. Innovation, progress, the cost of pushing boundaries. Elon's words weren't rehearsed. They weighed on Claire like a sudden chill, a hammer pounding in her chest. Then came the secret, a whisper buried beneath boardroom whispers and PR gloss. The project he barely dared speak of. A plan to launch a technology capable of rewriting human thought itself. It could link minds, erase memories, even control emotions. A promise of a new world, but at the price of humanity's very soul. Claire felt a scream rising in her chest. This wasn't science fiction. It was happening right now. "I'm scared," Elon admitted, voice faltering, trembling just a little. "Not because I'm losing control, but because I'm not sure I should." Her hands shook as she realized what was at stake. Her next step could ruin her life or save millions. Would she protect the man fighting hidden battles? Or expose a nightmare disguised as progress? Outside, the crowd moved on, unaware. But inside, the walls seemed to close in, whispers of power and danger swirling around them. And then, just as Claire thought she could breathe again, the man's phone buzzed. An encrypted message flashing on the screen, a single word piercing the air. Now. Her heart stopped. The decision was no longer hers alone. What was coming next? And could she survive the fallout? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The moment the word "now" flashed across Elon's phone, the energy in the room shifted. Claire's heart raced. Something huge was happening, and she felt like a tiny piece in a game far beyond her reach. Elon's fingers gripped the phone tight, jaw clenched. "I need to go," he said, urgency lacing his voice like a taut wire. A rush of cold air blasted in, and in walked two men in dark suits, faces rigid and eyes spanning like hawks. "Mr. Musk," one of them called out, smooth and commanding, as if they owned the room. "We need to speak to you, now." Claire glanced at Elon, panic flooding her system. What was happening? The men were larger than life, their presence suffocating. She could feel their gaze on her, assessing. She wanted to hide, to duck behind the counter, but she was glued to the spot. "Elon?" One of the men pressed, taking a step closer, an eager edge in his tone. The atmosphere crackled, something deep and hidden just beneath the surface. Elon's expression shifted. The warmth faded, replaced by a chill that wrapped around the room. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice low. "Time's up. You know the consequences," the other man responded, fingers twitching at his side. The tension thickened, electric and painful, buzzing against Claire's skin. Before Claire could grasp what was happening, the first man whipped out a small device, its screen glowing ominously. "We have intel, Elon. You're playing a dangerous game. And it's only a matter of time before it all falls apart." Elon straightened, the shadows of 1,000 thoughts cloaking his face. "Is that a threat?" he asked, voice dropping dangerously low. "You think you can control this?" With a flick of his wrist, the man activated the device, and a holographic image sprang to life above the counter. A swirling mass of data and images. Claire's breath hitched. It was a map, colorful and intricate, highlighting connections, webs of influence, and it spiraled into something dark and unsettling. Her knees felt weak. The implications twisted around her heart like a vice. "What is that?" she whispered, voice shaking. "You," the man pointed at her, a slight smirk creeping across his lips, "are in the middle of something far bigger than you realize." Elon's eyes narrowed, a storm brewing behind them. "Leave her out of this. She has nothing to do with it." "Does she?" The man's smile widened, something sinister lurking beneath. "We've been monitoring connections. The unspoken threads tying you both together. Claire, do you know what happens when you look too deeply into the shadows?" A ripple of realization washed over her. "What do you mean?" she stammered, feeling like the walls were closing in. "Let's just say she might be the key to your plan, Elon, or to its undoing." A silence fell, heavy and suffocating. The world outside faded to nothing as Claire's mind raced. Elon's eyes locked onto hers, the weight of his gaze pulling her deeper into the uncertainty. "It's not what you think, Claire," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. "There's so much more at stake than you realize." Just then, the first man leaned in closer, voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "The moment you unravel the truth, you'll wish you hadn't." Claire felt her heart pounding in her chest, fear gripping her like a vice. The implications were crushing. She realized then a horrifying truth hid just beyond reach. The game was changing fast, and everyone was a player in a dance of shadows and secrets. Before she could respond, the second man smirked, activating another device that whirred ominously. A shrill alarm echoed in the store as the lights flickered. Chaos erupting all around you. And with that sound, everything spiraled out of control. Now, the real battle was just beginning. The phone buzzed again, cutting through the thick air between them. Claire's heart raced, her breath hitching. "What's going on?" she croaked, eyes glued to the screen. Elon glanced at the message, then back at her, a storm brewing in his expression. "It's complicated," he replied, voice tight, "but I need to—" The door flew open, a rush of wind bursting in. A group of men in dark suits flooded the shop, their faces masked by cold, hard expressions. The leader, a tall figure with an icy stare, stepped forward. "Step away from him, Claire." The voice was low, menacing. "What?" Claire fumbled, confusion washing over her. "Who are you?" "Not your concern. Just back up, now." The man's gaze flicked to Elon, pure contempt etched across his features. Elon's posture shifted, tension radiating off him like heat. "I can handle this," he said, but there was a crack in his voice that made Claire's stomach churn. "Handle what?" she spat, trying to push through the fear clawing at her. What is happening? Talons of uncertainty gripped her heart. This was beyond the ordinary. The men didn't just walk in. They felt like a storm on the horizon. And then, as if on cue, the leader reached into his jacket. Claire instinctively stepped closer to Elon. "Don't you dare hurt him!" The leader smirked, a cruel twist of his lips. "Hurt him? Oh no, sweetheart. We're here to make a deal." "A deal?" Fear hammered in her chest. "What kind of deal?" "Let's just say, Elon's little project." He leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "It's not just technology. It's a weapon, and we're here to claim it." Claire's blood ran cold. Weapon. It sounded like a nightmarish conspiracy. She looked at Elon, desperation mingling with shock. Was this the real reason for his confession? Elon's eyes flickered with recognition. Then he turned to her, urgency pouring from him. "You need to trust me, Claire. They don't know what I'm capable of." The leader laughed, a hollow sound that echoed off the walls. "We know exactly what you're capable of, Musk. Round up the ideas. Strip them of their humanity. Your little fantasies of utopia are over." In one swift motion, the leader pulled out a device, a sleek black box that glinted menacingly under the shop's fluorescent lights. Claire's gut twisted as she understood. They wanted control of Elon's project. "You can't just take this," she shouted, voice trembling. "That's exactly what we're doing," he retorted, grinning. In that heartbeat, the air grew electric, tension thickening like fog. Every person outside the store remained blissfully unaware. But inside, reality crumbled, and Claire stood on the edge of a precipice. "Time's up, Musk. Make your choice," the leader snapped, eyes boring into Elon. "Your dreams or your life." Everything crashed around her. This was no longer just a conversation. The threads tangled, and she was caught in between. Elon's gaze shifted to Claire. "You can't let them win," he breathed, anger and fear battling in his expression. Then the phone buzzed again. It seemed insignificant now, lost in the high stakes of the moment. And still, it pulsed like a heartbeat. Outside, a commotion stirred. People moving quickly, their faces painted with concern. Claire sensed a change in the air, a wave of panic and confusion. "Choose," the leader urged again, pushing forward. It felt like a ticking bomb, every second burning away. Then, with a swift, deliberate motion, Elon reached for the device, and Claire felt her world tilt. Was he really about to hand it over? Or was there something else in his plan? Suddenly, the door burst open once more, and a man in a suit entered. Eyes scanning the crowd, he zeroed in on Elon, then on the leader, face stormy. "Back off!" he shouted, standing his ground, hands raised. Shock rippled through the group, confusion painted on every face. And in that moment, everything fractured. Claire's heart raced. Who was this man? With the room on edge, Claire took a deep breath, ready to fight, ready to choose sides. But which side was the right one? She didn't know, but she had to find out, fast. The moment the door swung open again, the world around Claire shifted like the earth beneath her feet. The man in the suit, eyes darting sharply, moved in swiftly, causing a panic to ripple through the group. "Get back!" he shouted again, voice slicing through the tension like a knife. Elon's expression morphed. A mix of surprise and recognition. "Daniel?" he whispered, confusion etched on his face. "Not now, Elon," Daniel spat, glaring at the leader. Claire felt the air thicken. What was their connection? "Why are you here?" Elon's voice quivered with something that felt like fear. "Let's just say I've got intel you don't." Daniel stepped forward, the group parting slightly. Claire's heart raced. Who was this man, and what dangerous game was he playing? "Is this your backup?" the leader mocked, a laugh escaping him. "Pathetic!" Daniel ignored him, eyes laser-focused on Elon. "Listen to me. They've been tracking you for weeks. Your project is more dangerous than you realize. You have to get out of here, now." Elon's jaw clenched. "I can't just run." "Not without. Everything you know is at risk," Daniel interrupted, urgency flooding his tone. "Don't you see that? This isn't just about you anymore." A sudden panic twisted Claire's stomach. Were they really talking about something that could harm millions? She wanted to scream, to push through the chaos and demand answers. "Enough!" the leader shouted, his voice booming. "Your little squad won't save you. Either you cooperate, or I take everything from you, by force." As the tension soared, Claire felt a vibration through her pocket. It was her phone. She fumbled, trying to keep her hands steady as she read the screen. A text from someone she barely remembered. A name from years past. "You have to leave now, or it'll be too late. Trust nobody, not even..." She froze, the words cutting like glass. Not even who? Before she could finish reading, the lights flickered again. Another man burst through the door, but this time he was dressed in tactical gear, face concealed behind a helmet. "Playtime is over," the newcomer yelled, startling everyone. He pointed a weapon directly at the leader. Claire's heart raced. What was happening? The room felt like it was teetering on the brink of collapse. The digital screens suddenly sparked and flickered. illuminating the entire shop in brief flashes of otherworldly blue light. Suddenly, everyone's attention was pulled back to the holographic display. The leader grinned, cold and sharp. "You really think you can just barge in here and take this from me? You're out of your league." But then, something unexpected happened. As if responding to a silent call, the holographic map began reconfiguring itself, shapes shifting, patterns emerging like a living being. Daniel stared, eyes wide. What? What is happening? Suddenly, the floor beneath them quaked, rattling shelves and causing customers outside to look in. Eyes filled with confusion. I don't know, Claire yelled, panic rising. Then came a crescendo of sound, a piercing alarm blaring from the devices, shaking them all to their core. And with one swift motion, the newcomer pressed a button on his wrist, and the store erupted in chaos. A massive shockwave pulsated from him, sending everyone to the floor. Claire hit the ground hard, her vision spinning. That was when she heard it, a voice echoing through the chaos, oddly familiar and terrifyingly close. "You should have trusted me, Claire." A chill ran through her as she caught a glimpse of the leader. No longer merely an antagonist. The mask he wore, the face was changing, peeling away like wax. Her mouth dropped open. It wasn't just a mask, it was a disguise. "What?" she gasped, heart racing as everything she thought she knew crumbled. The man before her wasn't just an enemy. He was someone from her past. "She's mine," the leader spat, voice twisting in her memory, a familiar tone she hadn't heard in years. Panic surged in Claire's veins, leaving her breathless. What had she just uncovered? Reality spun away from her, and with it, the course of their lives. "Claire, we need to go," Elon shouted above the din. But past the tempest of confusion, she was paralyzed by revelation. Staring at a figure she thought long forgotten. What was this horrifying truth? And would she even make it out alive to find out? The phone buzzed again, the sound sharp and urgent, slicing through the thick air like a knife. Claire's heart raced. The word "now" pulsed in her mind, louder than anything else. Elon glanced down at the screen, his face shifting from calm to stark fear. He rubbed his temples, almost like he was trying to wipe away the weight of the moment. "They found me," he whispered, barely audible. She didn't know what to do. His vulnerability was a facade crumbling before her eyes. The cool tech genius now seemed just like her, terrified and exposed. "Who?" she finally managed to ask, her voice tight. But before he could respond, the doors swung open again. 3 figures entered, dressed in black, tactical gear, their faces obscured by masks. The cheerful shop vibe evaporated, replaced by an electrifying tension. The sudden shift sent a chill racing down Claire's spine. "Step away from the billionaire," one of them barked, voice clipped, as if carved from stone. It wasn't a request, it was a command. Claire's pulse thundered in her ears. She stepped back instinctively, fists balled up, unsure of whether to fight or flee. Elon stood rooted to the spot, eyes wide, all bravado stripped away. "We've got a job to do," another figure said, looking straight at Elon. Claire could see reflexive tension tightening the muscles in his jaw. The first man reached for something at his belt. Claire swayed on the balls of her feet, breath hitching. What were they after? Suddenly, a muffled scream echoed from behind them. The tension snapped tight. Claire turned, heart racing. A customer was facing off against another figure in the shadows. "Get your hands off me!" she heard him shout. With a jolt, Claire realized this wasn't just about Elon. It was much bigger. "Leave him alone," she shouted, feeling reckless, adrenaline surging. The masked figures looked at her, momentarily caught off guard, confusion flickering in the air. "Not your business, lady," one shot back, but uncertainty played across his features. There was a moment of silence, suspended, as all eyes turned from Elon to her. And then, as if time had ripped open, the third figure wrenched out a device from his pocket. A metallic glimmer caught Claire's eye. What was it? Before she could react, he spun, aiming it straight at Elon. "Let's see how you like this," he yelled, clicking a button. But instead of a horrific outcome, the thing erupted in a flash of bright light, sweeping through the store. The entire world froze. Sounds vanished, colors dimmed. Every face around her seemed to melt, morph into shadows, as if reality itself was crumbling. A veil lifted, dust swirling in the spotlight of confusion. Then, silence. Elon stood still, but his eyes filled with something new, something tangible. It was an idea, a fear that ran so deep it shook Claire to her core. "What are you doing?" she barely whispered, feeling something shift within. His gaze held hers, raw, like a live wire, pulsing with secrets. "You have to understand. I didn't think. I didn't know." Just as quickly, the light burst up again, snapping reality back. The masked intruders were gone, vanished into mist. The shop was intact. People stood frozen, confusion plastered on their faces. Claire's breathing echoed in the sudden stillness. But then, Elon took a step closer, and for just a moment, she could see it, the truth lurking behind the familiar mask. The storm inside him was real, relentless. "I don't know who you can trust anymore," he said, voice trembling. "Not even me." The weight of his words settled like ice in her chest. The world had shifted. Claire sensed it in her bones. Nothing would ever be the same. What lay behind those words? Did she even want to know? Suddenly, everything seemed dangerous. And the question hung in the air, would she still choose to walk this path? Her heart stopped. The word "now" blinked ominously on Elon's phone, and for a moment, the world faded away. Claire felt the walls of the store pulse with tension, the air thickening like fog. Every sound outside, the chirping of birds, the distant murmur of conversation, seemed to vanish. All that remained was the two of them, suspended in this surreal moment. Elon's eyes darted to the door, then back to Claire. His calm demeanor fractured, a crack forming in the facade that had just moments ago seemed to hold the weight of the world. "I need you to trust me," he said, urgency creeping into his voice. "Something big is about to happen." Before Claire could respond, the door swung open violently, slamming against the wall. A figure burst in, a flash of dark hair and intense energy. One arm was raised, and in the other hand, he held a device that crackled with blue electricity. "Elon, we need to move now!" The stranger's gaze landed on Claire, urgent and piercing. "You don't want to be caught here. Trust me, it's not safe." The tension escalated, buzzing like a live wire. Claire's mind raced. Who was this newcomer? What danger lurked outside? Fists tightened on her counter, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had never imagined her quiet afternoon would spiral into this. "No, wait!" Elon's voice boomed. "You can't just barge in like this." But the man didn't budge. "We don't have time for this. The project, it's compromised. People are coming." Compromised? Claire's heart sank, a chill spreading through her. This wasn't just about technology. It was about safety, about lives. The earlier revelations fell over her like a shroud. What project? Elon's gaze flickered to her, panic breaking beneath his calm exterior. I thought we had more time. The sound of shouts echoed from outside. The door rattled under heavy blows. She could barely comprehend the enormity of it all. Her dreams of working with innovators, of improving lives, were crumbling before her eyes. The stranger stepped closer, eyes sharp. "You don't understand. They want the technology. They'll do anything to get it. Anything." "Who?" Claire asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, a frantic message flashing across the screen. A single chilling word. Compromised. Elon's expression twisted into something raw, revealing fear she hadn't seen before. "Claire, you have to make a choice right now." A choice! The weight of those words crashed into her chest. What could she possibly do? The door buckled again, splintering the wood. "Open up!" a voice shouted from outside. Panic gripped Claire, and she looked from Elon to the stranger, trying to glean a path forward. And then the truth hit her like a jolt. A hidden agenda, a layer thicker than anything she'd thought possible. "You're not the only ones in this. The stranger's eyes widened, and all at once, everything shifted. "You know? You're part of this too. You've been tapped." "No," Claire gasped. "I'm just a store clerk." "Exactly." He grabbed her wrist, urgency swirling in his eyes. "The technology doesn't just connect minds, it alters them. You're not just anyone. You're the key." Had she been unknowingly drawn into a web of intrigue, the innocent observer all along? Elon's face contorted with newfound intensity. "You don't realize how deep this goes. They will come for you. They need that key." The pounding on the door grew more frantic. "Go, now!" the stranger urged, shoving Claire toward the back door. But as she turned her back on Elon, doubt twisted in her gut. Could she trust him? In the chaos, Claire faced the shattering truth. Her future was no longer her own. Outside, the world spun into chaos, and she stood at the eye of a storm brewing, a choice about to be made. Would she step into the darkness, or was there still a light left to find? Her heart raced, pulse pounding in her ears, as the door finally broke open. She braced herself for whatever came next. The buzz of the shop faded into a heavy silence as the word on the phone flashed in front of them. Now, Claire felt her heart drown in panic. Elon's expression shifted, tension rippling through him. The calm facade cracked just a bit. "What?" she whispered, but he held up a hand, cutting her off. His eyes darted to the door. "Listen closely," he said, leaning in so their faces were inches apart. "Whatever happens, you have to trust me. It's critical." A chill ran down her spine. Trust him? This was the man who danced with destiny, and it all felt too surreal. Suddenly, the door swung open. the chime sounding a harsh alarm. Two men in dark suits stormed in, radiating a wave of authority. They moved like predators, sizing up their prey. "Elon Musk," one of them called out, voice like gravel. "We need you to come with us. Back off." Elon's voice came sharp and unyielding. He stood taller. But Claire could see the fear flickering behind his bravado. The men stepped closer, eyes locked on him, faces stoic. "You have no choice in this matter. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." "What is this?" Claire managed, feeling her voice tremble. The reality of the situation crashed into her. This wasn't just a tech conversation anymore. This was danger. Elon turned to her, urgency in his gaze. "Claire, they're after the project I mentioned. You can't get involved." But before she could react, one of the suited men reached into his pocket, pulling out a sleek device that shimmered in the store's lights. It looked like something out of a spy movie, all sharp edges and blinking lights. "This is your final warning," the man said, standing firm. "Come with us, or we'll take you by force." Elon's breath quickened. He took a step back, eyes darting, searching. "I won't let you touch her!" And then it hit her. Everything she thought she knew about Elon flipped upside down. The scared man in front of her wasn't just a brilliant mind trapped in a storm. He was also a target, a player in a game far larger than she could comprehend. But there was something deeper, something stirring within your chest that asked, was he also the very villain he was afraid of? Before she could piece it all together, the second man launched. In a flash, everything erupted. A crash, glass shattering, chaos igniting. Arms flailed. Elon pushed Claire behind him. "Get down!" he shouted as things began to spiral. But the first man pressed a button on the strange device, and an ear-splitting sound filled the shop. A fierce wave of white noise that pierced her eardrums, leaving her reeling. Electrifying energy pulsed through the air, seizing Claire's nerves. Through the haze, she saw the men wrestle with Elon, his body nearing the edge of the shelf. And in an instant, Claire noticed a glimmer of fear in the eyes of one of the suited men. A flash of something human. Just before she could think, she acted instinctively. She lunged forward, grabbing the device from the man's grip. It felt cold, powerful, and strangely familiar. In a heartbeat, the world halted. The room blurred, and all that stood clear was Claire holding onto the device. The weight of choice heavy in her hands. "Who are you really?" she shouted, demanding answers amid the chaos. Elon's gaze snapped to her, a mixture of gratitude and dread flashing across his features. A gasp escaped the men's lips as they froze, shock registering in their eyes. "You don't understand what you have," one of them began. But before he could finish his thought, the device pulsed, bathing the room in a blinding light. In that moment, every reality shifted. Claire felt it shake her core, and then darkness took over. What lay on the other side of that void? What secrets lingered beneath the surface of the light? Everything was about to change. The blinding light pulsed, flooding the shop with a surreal hue, swallowing sound. Everything felt suspended, like time had momentarily stopped. Claire blinked, trying to regain her footing in the shifting reality. Her heart raced, a drumbeat of panic, and then, just like that, the light fragmented again, sparking chaos anew. It flickered, revealing shadows and fears that had long lingered beneath the surface. The world snapped into focus. Elon's face was a mixture of fear and something else, something darker. "Claire," he started, voice strained and urgent. "You need to focus. We don't have much time." Before she could reply, the device in her hand surged, buzzing violently. It felt alive, and fear tingled in her bones. What was this thing? A secret? A weapon? But then the shouting from outside surged again, louder. The door creaked ominously under pressure. Claire's grip tightened around the device, heart soaring and plummeting all at once. What had she gotten herself into? Suddenly, the room shifted again, pieces falling into place, unexpected revelations flooding in. From the corner of her eye, she caught a flicker of movement. The lighting wavered and settled, revealing the figures of the men in dark suits, their expressions hard and unyielding. But then another shift. A glimmer caught her attention, something metallic flashing in the thrumming light. The new figure, a shadow lurking at the edge of the chaos, was looking directly at her. For a moment, it felt like everything slowed again. She recognized him, a face she hadn't seen in years. "Jake?" she gasped, disbelief coloring her voice. The man standing in the shadows stepped forward, his face lined with familiarity, but hardened by the years. "Claire," he said, voice low and gritty, "it's time you knew everything." "What?" Claire's words came out like a breath, barely audible, as her mind reeled. Why was he here? Elon's face twisted into confusion, a mix of betrayal and recognition flashing in his eyes. "You know him?" Before she could answer, Jake reached for the device in her hand, snatching it from her grip with alarming speed. "You were always part of this, Claire. You just didn't know it." Ice ran through her veins. "What do you mean?" She fought against the rising tide of dread clawing at her throat. "Your family, they were involved in the project." "Before," Jake said, every word a weight that settled heavily inside her chest. "They created it." "Created it?" Claire echoed, confusion hanging thick in the air. "I had to search for you. They knew. They tracked you." The urgency in his voice left her breathless. "They left clues. But they never wanted you to find out. Not like this." Elon's face hardened, each line etched deeper. "What? No. Claire, you can't trust him. He's part of the system that wants to control everything. You can't." "No!" Claire shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. "You don't get to say that to me. What have you been hiding?" The room plunged into tension, words hanging in the air like daggers. Jake glanced back at the door. Time ticked ominously away. "We need to go, now! They're coming for you!" "Who is coming? ... Claire demanded, breath hitching. Suddenly the lights flickered again, shadows swirling, and the screams outside crescendoed. An overwhelming wave of noise crashed over her, a maelstrom of urgency. Elon's grip tightened, fear rippling through his voice. "You need to choose, Claire. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about everything." And then it clicked. Something much larger loomed behind it all. The stakes weren't just personal. They reached into the depths of her family's history. The door burst open, the shouting growing louder, and Claire's heart raced. "Get down!" someone yelled, and before she could grasp what it all meant, Jake fired the device up again, this time illuminating an array of frantic faces outside. Machines and chaos emerging. In that blinding moment of light, a truth crystallized like glass shattering. She was not who she thought she was. And as shadows closed in, reality fractured. Would she follow Jake into the unknown, or stay with Elon and confront the past? In the chaos, the choice lay desperately in her hands. Everything she had known had changed, and the world shifted again, revealing the depths of secrets she was about to uncover. The blinding light pulsed, flooding the shop with a surreal hue, swallowing sound. Everything felt suspended, like time had momentarily stopped. Claire blinked, trying to regain her footing in the shifting reality. Her heart raced, a drumbeat of panic. And then, just like that, the light fragmented again, sparking chaos anew. It flickered, revealing shadows and fears that had long lingered beneath the surface. The world snapped into focus. Elon's face was a mixture of fear and something else, something darker. "Claire," he started, voice strained and urgent. "You need to focus. We don't have much time." Before she could respond, the door swung open violently, slamming against the wall. A figure burst in, a flash of dark hair and intense energy. One arm was raised, and in the other hand, he held a device that crackled with blue electricity. "Elon, we need to move now!" The stranger's gaze landed on Claire, urgent and piercing. "You don't want to be caught here. Trust me, it's not safe." The tension escalated, buzzing like a live wire. Claire's mind raced. Who was this newcomer? What danger lurked outside? Fists tightened on her counter, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had never imagined her quiet afternoon would spiral into this. "Oh, wait!" Elon's voice boomed. "You can't just barge in like this." But the man didn't budge. "We don't have time for this. The project, it's compromised. People are coming." Compromised? Claire's heart sank, a chill spreading through her. This wasn't just about technology, it was about safety, about lives. The earlier revelations fell over her like a shroud. What project? Elon's gaze flickered to her, panic breaking beneath his calm exterior. I thought we had more time. The sound of shouts echoed from outside. The door rattled under heavy blows. She could barely comprehend the enormity of it all. Her dreams of working with innovators, of improving lives, were crumbling before her eyes. Suddenly, the room shifted again. Pieces falling into place, unexpected revelations flooding in. From the corner of her eye, she caught a flicker of movement. The lighting wavered and settled, revealing the figures of the men in dark suits, their expressions hard and unyielding. But then, another shift. A glimmer caught her attention, something metallic flashing in the thrumming light. The new figure, a shadow lurking at the edge of the chaos, was looking directly at her. For a moment, it felt like everything slowed again. She recognized him, a face she hadn't seen in years. "Jake?" she gasped, disbelief coloring her voice. The man standing in the shadows stepped forward, his face lined with familiarity, but hardened by the years. "Claire," he said, voice low and gritty. "It's time you knew everything." "What?" Claire's words came out like a breath, barely audible, as her mind reeled. Why was he here? Elon's face twisted into confusion. a mix of betrayal and recognition flashing in his eyes. "You know him?" Before she could answer, Jake reached for the device in her hand, snatching it from her grip with alarming speed. "You were always part of this, Claire. You just didn't know it." Ice ran through her veins. "What do you mean?" She fought against the rising tide of dread clawing at her throat. "Your family, they were involved in the project. Before," Jake said, every word a weight that settled heavily inside her chest. "They created it." "Created it?" Claire echoed, confusion hanging thick in the air. "I had to search for you. They knew. They tracked you." The urgency in his voice left her breathless. "They left clues, but they never wanted you to find out, not like this." Elon's face hardened, each line etched deeper. "What? No. Claire, you can't trust him. He's part of the system that wants to control everything. You can't—" "No!" Claire shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. "You don't get to say that to me. What have you been hiding?" The room plunged into tension, words hanging in the air like daggers. Jake glanced back at the door. Time ticked ominously away. "We need to go! Now! They're coming for you!" "Who is coming?" Claire demanded, breath hitching. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, shadows swirling, and the screams outside crescendoed. An overwhelming wave of noise crashed over her, a maelstrom of urgency. Elon's grit tightened, fear rippling through his voice. "You need to choose, Claire! This isn't just about you anymore. It's about everything." And then it clicked. Something much larger loomed behind it all. The stakes weren't just personal. They reached into the depths of her family's history. The door burst open, the shouting growing louder, and Claire's heart raced. "Get down!" someone yelled. And before she could grasp what it all meant, Jake fired the device up again. This time, illuminating an array of frantic faces outside. Machines and chaos emerging. In that blinding moment of light, a truth crystallized like glass shattering. She was not who she thought she was. And as shadows closed in, reality fractured. Would she follow Jake into the unknown, or stay with Elon and confront the past? In the chaos, the choice lay desperately in her hands. Just then, a piercing siren shrieked outside, rattling the very foundation of the shop. Everyone froze. The sound echoed like a death knell. Claire's gut twisted. The very air felt charged, heavy. And then the earth trembled. The floor shook violently beneath their feet. A rumble like thunder reverberated through the walls, sending shells tumbling to the ground. Glass shattered, raining down like shards of fate. Claire barely steadied herself, heart pounding as she clung to the reality crumbling around her. "Get down!" Elon shouted, urgency clawing at his voice. And then, in an impossibly loud crash, the roof above them began to collapse. Dust and debris spiraled into the air. Claire scrambled for safety, her mind racing. Was this an accident? A consequence of the chaos unfolding? But as she turned to look for Elon, fear twisted in her chest. He was being pulled by the figures in suits, the aliens in his life she thought she understood. Back toward the door. Claire screamed, but her voice was drowned by the cacophony. And that was when she saw it, a flash of light, A rush of energy exploded from the device Jake held. The force knocked everyone off their feet. It surged out, encasing Claire in a bubble of blinding brilliance that made her eyes water. Her vision swirled, reality folding in on itself. Moments stretched, and then, just like that, she was thrown into a new world entirely. A mirror image of the shop, but everything was wrong. Shadows flickered like memories, echoing ghostly outlines of who they were before. Claire's heart raced as she spun, looking for Elon. But when she found him, her heart dropped. His eyes weren't filled with concern or fear. They were impassive, distant. Shocking revelation hit her like a tidal wave. He was not the man she thought he was. In that moment, she realized with crushing weight that he was part of it. Part of the system that had used her family's legacy. A single thought shattered everything she believed. She wasn't the key. They'd been using her all along. As she took a step back, struggling to comprehend the betrayal, the shadows around her began to solidify. The world tilted, and reality bent. "Claire!" Jake yelled, voice breaking through the chaos. "We have to get out before it closes." But Claire stood frozen, trembling hands, clutching the truth that felt like thorns in her flesh. Everything she thought she knew shattered. Would she flee into the unknown with Jake, or confront the man who had orchestrated the lies she had now uncovered? The world rumbled again, time slipping away as the darkness closed in. Would she break free from the chains of her past, or remain trapped in a legacy she never asked for? Claire felt every heartbeat echo in her chest. The world around her flickered like an old film reel, shades of fear and anger swirling in the chaos. Everything was shifting. But there was no turning back now. Jake's gaze was steady, urgency burning behind his eyes. "We have to move!" "Not without him!" Claire shot back, glancing over her shoulder at Elon. His face was pale, lips pressed into a thin line. "No!" Elon interjected, shaking his head. "You can't trust Jake! He's part of it all!" But with each wave of uncertainty rolling through the room, Claire couldn't ignore the truth piercing her thoughts. "Maybe you're all part of something, Elon," she retorted, feeling the adrenaline surging. "But I deserve to know what's really going on." And then the ground shook again. The store's walls trembled, books flinging from the shelves, crashing to the floor. The noise outside turned into a cacophony of shouts and sirens. Time was running out. They were being cornered. Jake grabbed her wrist, pulling her toward the back door. "We can figure this out later," he urged, determination hardening his features. "Claire!" Elon's voice rang out, desperation lacing his tone. "I can protect you. I can help you understand." But Jake, sensing the shifting tides of danger, jerked her forward, urgency flooding every fiber of his being. "You can't stay here. It's too risky." "Stop!" Claire shouted, torn between the two men. "What if I don't want to choose?" "Choose?" A bitter laugh escaped Jake's lips, each word wrapped in tension. "There's no choice anymore. They've already made it for you." Elon stepped closer, eyes flashing. "You know this isn't what it seems, Claire. You have power. We can find a way to stop this together." The walls quivered ominously, painting shadows around them. "No, you were meant to control it, to wield it. but that could destroy everything. The weight of realization hit her, a storm of confusion and betrayal washing over her. The door burst open, and a wave of masked figures charged in, filling the doorway like dark clouds. "Get out of the way!" one shouted, brandishing weapons that glinted under the harsh light. Claire froze, terror choking her. Jake pulled her behind him, eyes blazing. "We can't stay!" But the fear that gripped her began to melt into something else. Defiance. She stepped out from behind Jake, her voice steady, echoing with newfound strength. "You want me? Then you'll have to go through me." "What?" Elon stared, surprised. The masked figure smirked, stepping forward. "That's cute, sweetheart. But you're just a pawn in a much larger game." "No!" Claire shouted, fists clenched. "I won't let you take anyone more. Especially not Elon. You know what this is really about." For the first time, the darkness around her felt less like a prison and more like a shield as adrenaline surged. The device buzzed in her pocket, calling to her like a beacon. In that second, clarity cut through the storm. "I know what I have to do," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Elon and Jake watched, tension holding the air tight. "Hold on!" Jake yelled, yanking her back. "You don't know what's in play here." But Claire felt empowered. A flicker of rebellion ignited within her. "I do know more than you both realize." And with that, she raced forward, facing the figures. She grasped the device and aimed it at the leader, mind whirling with potential. Light burst forth, enveloping the room in a blinding glow. Huadas, this shock and realization swept over the intruders, illuminating the truth terrifyingly clear. One important thing became clear. She had the key to unlock or destroy it all. As the power inside her began to pulse, she realized she was no longer just a pawn. She was the game. And as the energy swirled, the chaos began to unfold, connecting stakes, illuminating choices, and she had the strength to shift the balance. Suddenly, the light surrounding her expanded, wrapping around the chaos, forcing everyone to face the truth. Claire saw the fear and uncertainty on Elon's face, and a wave of empathy engulfed her as she understood. All their choices were woven together in this tangled web. Even as the truth began to unfold, Claire felt a spark of hope. "You can change everything. Make it better," she urged them both. "But you have to trust me." "Trust is built over time," Elon replied, grounding her doubt. "Show me you see. Let's do this." And as the last echoes of despair dissolved into the brightness, the future loomed ahead, filled with both peril and possibility. But what lay on the other side? What awaited them? Had she truly broken the cycle? Or was this just the beginning? The world buzzed with uncertainty, and Claire stood on the edge, knowing that her choice echoed far beyond herself. This was just the beginning. Now, if you're tuning in, this is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure you're part of the community. And hey, flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. I want to hear from all of you. Don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see what just happened.